Most naive B2B SaaS founders think that selling SaaS in enterprise is just a larger version of selling $49.99, $150 per month SaaS subscriptions to small businesses or individuals. But that couldn't be further away from the truth. If you're selling SaaS in the enterprise, anything from 200K per year upwards, possibly sometimes even at 100K per year, depending on the size of the company that you are working with, your biggest gatekeeper is not going to be the CEO, the CFO, or accounting. Your biggest gatekeeper will be the holy trifecta of IT, compliance, and legal. They'll keep you trapped in what I call just pilots, like a pilot purgatory, where you will keep spinning your wheels. You'll keep sending follow-up emails saying, "Hey John, any updates? Can we like, is this fair? Is this fair?" You'll keep saying that, but the demos will get stalled and the milestones will get missed. So this is a 10, 15, 20, or maybe 40-minute video for those five CEOs, CTOs, and CPOs at mid to early stage SaaS companies who are dipping their toes into enterprise SaaS sales. As someone who has helped dozens and dozens of our clients over the last 5 years and before that, actually, build, launch, and sell enterprise SaaS products to some of the biggest companies in the world. I know I look like this, but I'm actually 35 years old. I'm Rohan Sawant, and over the last 5 years at Ionio, we have built at least 40 B2B SaaS products. Our clients have verifiably made millions of dollars, signed up hundreds of users for B2B and thousands of users for B2C, and they have been able to close tens of B2B deals, some with the biggest companies in the world, all while we were taking care of every single thing on the technical and the AI side of things. So through that, we have had a front seat opportunity to watch this process go over and over and over. Here's what this video contains. It has the exact technical requirements that Fortune 500 clients demand. The conversation scripts that prevent you from stripping your company naked, how to charge six figures without giving away your technical IP as a small and a lean team, possibly as a bootstrapped one as well, because a lot of our clients were bootstrapped. The exact team composition that makes a large company trust a 10-person team that didn't exist 2 years ago, and why your outsourced dev team might be inadvertently be killing your deals, and the fix for that. And this is coming from the outsourced teams. So if I'm lucky to have this video land at the precise time, and you have got either a small in-house team of up to 5 to 7 developers, plus you have got a larger outsourced team, either in India, Eastern Europe, Latin America, or Bangladesh, or any of these other places. Or maybe you have hired developers straight off of Upwork. So here is where you're probably at right now. And this is where a lot of our clients also were. Your product is built. It's not perfect, but it solves a real problem. You are at anywhere between $10 to $50,000 per month, and you have got a few agencies, SMBs, and SMB customers. And through a champion, you are trying to crack your first enterprise deal. And now you're going after that whale, that Fortune 500 logo that once you put on your site, everything will change. It's a whale client, and you need the case study. You know you will be the perfect solution for them, and you're already competing with larger solutions which are charging a boatload of money. And you think you are just like one meeting away from closing a 200K pilot that eventually turns into a seven-figure annual contract. And your clients, they're already either using Salesforce, HubSpot, or some very large SaaS company where they are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And your proposition to them is, why don't you just use our product? We are cheaper, we have more features, we deliver a better outcome. This software might be for a single vertical inside the company, and you have a direct line with your champion directly to, if you're lucky, one of the C suites or someone who's a VP of something. And at this point, they'll say something which you'll probably take very lightly, because I had the first time we did it. That is, they'll say, hey, we will have our IT team take a look at it. That's fine, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, have your IT team take a look at it. It's completely fine. We have great engineers. We have a solid product. And you take it for granted. You think it is just a formality, but you have no idea. You have walked into a fucking ambush. And on the call, they don't just send a single engineer from their IT team. They send like 10. They send an entire technical team in there, and you're just sitting there. If you are unlucky with your CTO and that one Indian developer, I can say that I'm Indian. If you're lucky, not on camera. If you're unlucky, on camera in like an unprofessional background, just like if you have worked with outsourced teams, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I can say that not because I'm Indian, because that's the truth. So then the questions start. What encryption standard are you guys using? Can you show us your pen test results? Can you talk about your SSO integration? Let's talk about RBAC, role-based access control. What about on-premise deployment options? What are the rate limits? Data residency controls, disaster recovery RTO, your SOC 2 report, the architecture diagram, the vendor security assessment. And it's like 10 people, 10 laptops, 10 angles of attack. And like, you guys are just there. It's like looking at each other. Oh, no, what is the hell is going on? And after the call, you just realize this wasn't a technical review. It was like a fucking interrogation. So this is how these meetings typically go if you're doing them for the very first time. You need to understand why this is actually happening. There is actually a method to the madness, and the IT team is not doing this just because they hate you. And it's not really about the technology either. And I'll just run through that. Every person in that room has one primary goal. They don't want to be the guy that approved the vendor that got hacked, that leaked customer data, whose name, when they say who approved this, they don't want to be the name that comes up, right? And there are all of these conflicting dynamics that keep happening inside companies. And you'll probably think this is a technical video, so why does this matter? But this is the only thing that actually matters. 55-year-old director, right? He's just a few years away from retirement. He does not really want to get fired. The senior architect, who might be in his 30s, is probably gunning for a promotion, and he does not want to be the one who gets canned because of this. So, number one, they are not just evaluating your tech, they're also covering their asses, right? That is number one. Then the second dynamic that comes into play here is that the internal teams, in many cases, are the same teams that have promised to build this solution internally for years. They also have got like a 47-page digital transformation slide deck that makes your SaaS uh, look incompetent, way too expensive, and an IP that they will not own in comparison. They just want to say something along the lines of, hey, why are we paying these guys like $1 million over 5 years when we could just build this internally in 4 months and save ourselves just for 200K, whatever. So on this call, what this manifests as is that they are going to find every possible reason why your solution will not work for them, for their exceptional scenario. And not because it won't actually work, but because if it works, they are kind of sad. But this problem gets exacerbated when you realize that in, well, you probably know this, but in larger companies, whenever you run initiatives like these, whenever you save software costs by taking out a vendor, that probably gives you a promotion. And we know that because we have been on the other side, we have where we have tried to kick out other vendors, right? So we have seen it from both sides. And that's the outcome that I have promised and increased our pricing because we committed to them that we would take those guys out. And now we are on this side and you're trying to tell them that, hey, your internal team is too slow, we'll take those guys out, right? So it's just like a, you get the idea, right? And here is the politics that you probably will already know if you have been doing this for a while, but if you're doing it for one of the first times, this is what I didn't know, right? So this is like really funny. So the VP that brought you in, the IT team fucking hates him, right? And this is their chance for revenge. And you're probably going to be like, why do they hate him? Because of all of the reasons that I just mentioned, right? Or maybe there is something happening under the hood that you might not even realize. So for example, a lot of these vendors, including us, have referral programs, right? So if you refer a deal, you get referral commission. These referral commissions are given to organizations like we do, but in many cases these commissions are also given to individuals. So the director of IT, he might actually be incentivized because maybe they are close friends with someone. They are going to get concert tickets, or maybe there are some incentives that you're just not aware of. And the higher up you go, it is just this. It's rarely the tech. It's a lot of just like human. It's like human, right? So Yeah, or the reason might be like very simple. If the reason they might be trying to stall the deal essentially is because they probably don't have any budget to find new vendors, or they can't say that at least, right? So they are going to find every technical concern to kill the deal without actually admitting that they don't have a budget for it. Those were the dynamics. So here is what IT teams in big companies, when you are selling enterprise SaaS deals, are actually looking for. Well, they do, of course, want actual compliance and security, but in many cases, largely what they want to be able to point to security documents or compliance certificates and just like a lot of documents when something goes wrong, so that they can say, look, hey, look, we did our due diligence. These were the documents we had. Based on that, we made a judgment. The implication is they, of course, want everything to work, right? But also, everything needs to be presented in a way so that they can use it for internal accountability, right? And data control. This is a very, very important one. We have been in so many calls where they are fine with the entire platform, but then for the data, they want a AWS RDS instance on their own end. It's more prevalent if you work in the Middle East or Europe. Oh, here's another one. They sometimes have internal cloud vendors that they also have credits to, which they want to stick to. So they're trying to see if they can move the data residency on their systems to reduce the cost of the annual subscription. So this also ends up happening. And again, the build versus buy justification that we already talked about, right? Can they explain to their board why are they paying a 10% 2-year-old startup like six figures instead of just using their internal team to build this out, right? And career protections will approving you make them look smart or stupid in the next 18 months. And importantly, power dynamics. Are you going to make them look weak or take away their advantage or take away their leverage? Here are some sectors where it gets really brutal, and we know it because we have seen it. In legal, partners demand on-premise deployments because client privilege. In real estate, MLS integrations. In financial services, the compliance outnumbers engineering like 3 to 1. In pharma, where MLR takes 6 weeks to approve a simple color change, just is what it is. In education, where they want Salesforce features for a Squarespace budget. So the pattern is always the same. The more regulated the industry, the more vicious the IT interrogate. So now that you actually understand why they are acting like this, here is one of the three ways things can go wrong. We'll talk about how it will work out in the later part of the video as well, but I'm just doing like a brain dump here, right? So the option one, and I'm going to tell you a story. So when I was 18, I was working as a engineer, and I was one of the only engineers at a deep tech AI startup. That's all I'll say. And I went through this exact thing, what the disaster that I'm about to talk about, the story I'm about to talk about. So we were a small team. I had built majority of the technical web and a little bit of the AI infrastructure for a hardware product, which we were pitching to what would end up being one of the largest companies in the country here in India back then. So we walked into this meeting as a team of two, me and my CMO at the time. Our CEO, CTO was in Europe, and he wasn't able to attend. So I was the highest technical staff in the entire company. And I was this like young kid. I looked even more younger than I look right now. And I mean, they had to take me to represent the company from the technical side in front of a large B2B company. And back then, we didn't really have this concept of, well, we had a concept of Zoom calls, but we didn't have this concept of some people joining remotely and others joining in person, right? We just didn't, that was just not the culture back then, at least where I was from. So we walked into this huge campus in the middle of the city. And so we're going through like security checks. They're taking our badges. They're scanning everything. I was like, oh my God, okay, oh, this is serious. And then finally, we make our way to the conference room. We are sitting in the conference room, and across from us, we have like the VP or someone. I don't remember. VP or like a senior leadership, one big dog from this like big company. And with him, he had brought like 8 people across like all age groups, most of them from engineering, right? So he had like a someone with under 4 years of experience, someone with 8 years of experience, 10 years of experience, and they had this entire team that showed up to the call, each with their laptops open. And then the question started. They were like, "Hey, how does this work? What are the limitations? What models are you using?" And I I should have been vague, but I just didn't freaking know because no one made a video for me like this. And I should have been vague and I should have said that, hey, you would be happy to discuss the technical details under an NDA. And I should have been vague, or I should have just said, hey, those are proprietary technical details. We can't get into that right now on this call, but maybe I can check in with our legal and I compliance teams and get back to you, and if we can disclose this at this point, right? But I was I was young. I was just 18. I was eager to impress. I wanted to, sound smart. I wanted them to think that we knew our tech as a company, and as a individual, I knew my tech. I didn't tell them exactly what models were we actually using because even I'm not that dumb. But I did tell them more than what I should have. So someone might ask on the very first call, how would we scale? What are the limitations? The answer is not to just, tell them that, hey, after 100,000 users, we will need to rewrite the load balancer. Something like that. That's not the answer. The answer is to just talk about how maybe you are on serverless, so you can scale infinitely. And as we are going through everything, right? As we are going through and talking through our product, we are explaining them how the product works and the features that it has, and then some of the technical details, right? As we're talking through that, the entire technical team, and they have been told this because I tell my technical teams this as well, and they just have been typically told that go ask as many questions as you want, take notes, and get me as much information as possible. And in every single B2B conversation that I have ever been in with a company that has their own internal teams, this is exactly what they have tried to do. Right? It's completely fine. I do this for our clients to their vendors. So it's like game is game. And 2 hours later, the VP, who hasn't really said much, he's just sitting there and observing. And then he later sent me like a connection request on LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, like I was that's weird. Now I understand it. But he then speaks up and he's like, hey, interesting approach. We like the product. Let us evaluate this internally and then we'll get back to you. Yeah, the meeting ends, right? And we thought, okay, this meeting went fairly well. And I had no fucking idea. This was an absolute disaster. And no one had briefed me. Like I had no idea. I had been a remote employee with like who is going to tell me how to act on a freaking sales call with an enterprise client? Like, so yeah, I had no idea, right? And then we just didn't hear back from them for like I think I didn't know. I was not part of technically. I was not part of leadership, so I didn't really know. But we didn't end up working with them, so we didn't really hear back from them ever again. And that meeting, it didn't just cost us that opportunity, but probably hundreds of thousands of dollars over the upcoming years. And it was a cautionary tale of what happens when you walk into a room without a briefing as a unprepared team with a Indian 18-year-old when you are trying to close like a Fortune 500 company. That's what happens. So yeah, we just give away everything. And I did not have like a video like this to tell me how to navigate enterprise complex B2B deals at 18, but now you can should just don't take your extra young engineer to sales calls in person once. So the first trap here is that um, engineers, CTOs, even CTOs sometimes they get so eager to prove that they have the technical chops that they give away the entire farm in many cases. So when you do that, what you're essentially doing is you're handing the internal team an entire blueprint to your platform. So the IT team, whose job is to protect their jobs and their own budget and relevance, will immediately see an opportunity and they'll tell their boss, hey, this will be very, very easy. We can build this internally. It will take us 4 months, and I can put 4 engineers on it. It will take like only like 100 or 200K, and we can build this internally. And over a 10-year period, this will save the company $1.9 million. We'll take care of hosting. We'll have internal IP that we can add on to our existing product. And yeah, they'll say all of that. And here is the power dynamic that you have to understand. right? A big company, a big company will completely dominate you. Sounded dirty, I know. Um, and you're going to have zero leverage because what are you going to do when like Coca-Cola comes to you and tells you that hey, they want to use your SaaS product? You've just gotten your like first few rounds of funding. What are you going to say? You're going to say, "Oh no, Mr. Coca-Cola, we can't close this deal." I've seen founders bend over backwards and just do things they really should not. The entire product roadmap goes out the window. Everything becomes negotiable when you are with the Fortune 500, who's it's like they have more power over you than the, not going to use a bad analogy. So yeah, they'll just have you bending over backwards or just bending over. So now maybe you have learned from others' mistakes, or you have learned your lesson. You have heard that in enterprise deals, you should not reveal everything, right? So you go the opposite direction. So when they ask about your architecture, you say, that's proprietary. I can't tell you, right? They ask you about your models, you say, we can't disclose them. They ask you about your uptime guarantees, we'll discuss that post contract. And you think you are actually protecting your IP, you are being Jordan Belfort of B2B SaaS. You'll think you're doing that, but essentially what you're doing by doing this is you're triggering every single red flag in the security playbook when they're trying to evaluate software vendors. And I have also been guilty of this, where you go from being very open to being like, I'll not tell anyone anything, right? And remember that everyone is not out there to get you. It's of course fun to be like, me against the world, but that's not how it really works. Everyone is just trying not to get fired. So when you're evasive with your answers, you're becoming the biggest career risk. So now everyone is just uneasy, just like squirming in their chairs, and you're like, ah shit. He's not even telling us the basic shit. When this typically happens, right? What they would typically do is they would start building a case against you, right? So they will be like, hey, we asked him about this, but they didn't give me an answer. After the call, right, you'll either get this or their internal teams will send a long email with all of the things which did not sound good. Tuck, 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 tuck. You'll just have that list. And I've seen this happen. A founder that I know, the question was, what type of encryption do you guys use? So he said, we used industry standard military grade encryption. It's like, no one talks like that. Like, no one talks like that. And then they asked which standard. He's like, the standard one. And I can't go reveal. I can't go further. I can't reveal our security secrets or whatever, right? And for the IT team, if you can't tell them what sort of encryption that you are using, then they will probably think that they don't encrypt. They will probably think that you don't encrypt their data at all. And 2 days later, you'll get an email saying something along the lines of, after careful consideration, after careful consideration, after careful consideration, we have decided that your solution doesn't meet our requirements, our security requirements, or our compliance requirements, and we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, right? And the translation is that you guys seem like sketchy as fuck. So yeah, man, we're not going to be risking our careers on you. Best of luck. What you need to understand is all of these guys, they walk in the same circles, right? So the head of IT at specific company is going to be friends with other heads of IT at other companies. They might have been colleagues. They'll go to the same conferences. They'll talk, and then if one person badmouths you, then you are just kind of screwed in the entire industry. So you're not just burning that one opportunity, but you just have poisoned the entire like well. Yeah, and I have done this as well. Like I have done this not just when selling SaaS, but also when working in B2B conversations, right? Just like in general, I've done this. Is the third way things go wrong. And this is the most expensive one. And this is the one where we have seen some of our clients end up. That is the one where you become their personal development shop, right? This happens a lot with companies. You know what type of companies. I'm not going to say it. You can guess in the comments what type of companies this happens a lot with. So they say something along the lines of, hey, can you add real-time satellite integration? Can you add this CRM integration? You're like, we don't have it, but we can add it. Then they ask you, can you integrate this with Zapier? Then they say, can this integrate with NA10? Can you integrate with SSO? can you send this data to our system? Can you have email notifications? And can you have SMS notifications? Each department has their own dashboard. So can you create this new view or this new filter in your dashboard? All of these queries, right? They sound really innocuous. When you ask your CTO, he'll give you like a 2 or 3 day estimate, and you say, hey, Coca-Cola is asking us for this feature. Might as well build it, right? And this typically happens after the pilot, or when you have just signed the contract, or you are in the process of signing the contract and they say something along the lines of, we need all these things to move ahead with the contract, right? And this is where this happens in the later stages of the contract, once you kind of have already gotten the wheels turning, right? So with all of this, if you're an early stage company, you probably think that they are so interested, they want all these features, right? And this is going to be huge. But 6 months later, the entire product roadmap is completely like messed up, because now you're a small team. Even if you had a 25% team, right, which is a very big team right now in 2026, right? Even if you had a team that big, like, the core vision of the product is gone. I have seen this happen. I have seen this freaking happen. I have been paid like more and more money through our clients to add more and more features which didn't add anything to the scope. When I told them this is not going to add anything to their scope, but they are like, no, we need to add these because the bigger dogs are asking for it, right? Just happens a lot, right? So the original vision is then gone, and you have built like a Franken SaaS, which is full of just like random feature requests, UI changes, and things that the enterprise client asked for. So here is what I've seen happen. The original pilot cost, typically it would be somewhere around the range of 25 to $100,000. The development cost to now meet these new requirements will be around $15 or $20,000 per month, and it probably takes 4 months to build these. So you've already spent like 80 to 100K minimum, and if you keep working on it for like 6 months, you would probably spend 2 6 or 24. So $250,000 trying to cater to them, all under the impression that as I keep working on these features, my own product roadmap will get better and better. In many cases, founders think that I'll do this first year and then this contract will get renewed, and you don't really know that, right? So what then you are ended up with is a product built in a hasty way because someone was getting restless for it, a UI that looks different than Figma, and just losing yourself, right? Products lose them. So how does all of this work? So is there a good way to handle all of the technical complexity? Is there a good way to don't not give them everything and you agree to everything? What's like the midway, right? How do you handle these things properly? And as an agency, if you're one of your clients, you'll probably think that I'm describing your instance. And I can promise you that's not been the case. We have gone through this exact process, this exact workflow so many times. And it's just like the same story with different characters in most cases, right? So I'm actually going to give you like a step-by-step playbook on how you can handle these deals. This will be tailored specifically for AI and Gen AI SaaS companies. So what we'll cover next. There will be continuity errors in this video now. Bye bye. Love you.